Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the delay, but I really do appreciate you waiting for me to start this off. Um, on behalf of the Township of Clark and all who visit Bartell, greatly appreciate the Liver Foundation's donation of this equipment. It really shows that there's care and appreciation for all who come to this park, children, adults, coaches, and it's from Jill's own experience that why this foundation does what it does. Make sure that there are AED and CPR equipment available in parks and recreation. So we're really pleased to do that. And as I was just starting to tell Jill, I actually worked with a man who was on a sailboat, and they were down in Savannah, and he was with his wife, and he had a heart attack. And after that experience, his wife saved his life, and they were down in Savannah, Georgia. And really, we live in New Jersey. We have a lot of good medical care, a lot of we're aware of having AEDs in our police cars, at our recreation center, in offices. Down there, they really have no education. So he gave his life to supporting that endeavor and training people on the importance of how to use an AED. And now today, it's so easy to use an AED. It talks to you, it tells you what to do, and not to be fearful about what's happening. So again, I just want to thank you again for this donation. It really reflects also the kind of partnership we want in a community. So thank you.
And so I'm just going to say to the kids that just came, if you want to color, or we have like little stethoscopes, if you want to color, they're little paper rolls and you can listen to each other's hearts. And then in a little while, if you want to look at the fire trucks and all that, you're more than welcome to do that. I just don't want them to be bored. So thank you. My name is Jill. I actually live in Garwood. I had cardiac arrest 4 years ago on the 25th at Echo Lake Dog Park. My friend Aileen started CPR immediately and waited for like 10 minutes for paramedics to get there with an AED. And what we know is that, basically every minute you don't have an AED, it can take your survival down by 10%. So the fact that I'm standing here is absolutely remarkable. Cardiac arrest has an 8% survival. It's an electrical heart issue. So it's like an arrhythmia, something your heart is just like beating out of control, or it just stops beating. And it's different from a heart attack. A heart attack has an 85% survival. A heart attack is some sort of an obstruction, like a plumbing issue, right? A blockage, something like that. And so a lot of times a heart attack could go on for weeks, right? A lot of people drive themselves to the doctor or to the hospital and they're like, hey, I kind of just don't feel right. And they find out, either they had a heart attack or they're having a heart attack or what have you. What can happen, and a lot of times if you hear somebody died from a heart attack, they had cardiac arrest afterwards. So the 8% stat for cardiac arrest too, because I'm standing here looking at you in scrubs, is an out of hospital, right? So somebody's recovering from a heart attack, they a lot of times in the hospital, they can have cardiac arrest, following a heart attack, but they're two very, very different things. And that's something, that the foundation really tries to talk about. And so I started the Aliver Foundation in January of 2024 because I've worked in nonprofit for over 2 decades, and people always come up to me and they're like, oh, I want to start a foundation. I want to start a charity. I'm like, no, you don't. You want to find one that exists. Like you don't. And find one that exists, talk to them about what you want to do. Chances are they're probably doing it because there are millions of nonprofit organizations in the United States. What happens after cardiac arrest, like most situations, and you literally died, right? And they send you home. And they don't tell you what to do. So I have no memory from 6 months before to 2 months after my cardiac arrest. So 8 months of my life completely completely gone. And they send you home, and I'm Googling around looking for support groups to kind of figure out how to navigate this, right? And there was nothing other than like Facebook support groups. And we all know Facebook is where like dreams go to die, right? So like I'm on Facebook and I'm just like, this is absolutely crazy. And there's no mental health support. And we know that, 6 to 9 months in is mentally grueling on survivors. The first 6 months, you're kind of just going to doctor appointments, you're doing all the things. And then 6 months, people kind of start sharing things with you. They tell you what happened, you're reading reports, you're all this stuff, and it becomes a lot, right? And so a lot of people really need that mental health support. And then with the messaging. So really with those three things, or we're going to talk about the AEDs in the parks, I'll do that in a second. But that's why I wanted to start this, because I'm like, everybody's focused on youth sports. Everybody, is focused on having AEDs inside buildings, but nobody thinks about outside or when those doors are locked, right? What do you do? And so that's why I started the foundation. We have such a great team, and Matt, who lives here, is here. He's on our board. His mom is here too. She's a survivor too, Ra. Stephanie is here. She's on our first responder committee. And then Dylan and Emma are here, who are both like our teen ambassadors, teen volunteers. We just have a really good group of people. Bobby was one of the first responders. Rob, whatever we call him, I call him Bobby, but he's here too. And yeah, it's just been really cool to see how it's grown. So in terms of the AED bundles that we donate, so what I can tell you before I talk about the donations is, so it'll be 4 years on the 25th. I advocated really, really, really hard. And in December of last year, the county actually purchased and installed through a grant 80 of these outdoor bundles in the 36 parks. So any county park you're going to in Union County, you're going to see these, except in Echo Lake Dog Park, because the PSENG will not give them access to the electric pole. And I'll explain how these are hardwired and why that's so important. So literally on the 25th, if that still has not happened, I'm going to be vocal again. So it's just weird that that's the only spot that there still isn't one, where that was the initial spot that I was advocating for. So it's kind of silly. So the way that these work, and we'll go over there in a minute so everybody can kind of see them. And then also we have the awesome squad here, volunteers who come out and do their thing. They are going to do an interactive CPR demonstration and AED demonstration. So the way that these work is, we know that if you have an AED, and some of the towns around here have them in metal boxes outside, and when there's extreme temperatures of either heat or of cold, the AED inside is not going to work. It's not like it thaws out and the batteries and the pads all of a sudden work again, right? And so the idea of these boxes, these enclosures that they're in, is that when the temperatures get too hot, it serves as a cooler like you'd bring to the beach or something. When it gets too cold, they're hardwired to an electrical source, and a heating element will come on and keep it climate controlled, temperature controlled, whatever you want to call it. The AEDs that we use inside are Heart Science Samaritan 350P. If you look at it, they're so intuitive. A lot of times, you see them and it says AED and they're in a bag and people are intimidated. This looks like they should be in like a play school kitchen, right? This is the one the person is always going to pick. Maybe not the professional, but they have a really, really good IP rating because people are drawn to them and think it's something that they can use. What I say about the AEDs is, there's messaging, and this is where we really try to change this messaging. There's messaging out there. You have to learn how to use an AED. No, you don't. You call 911, and so that's the first step. Is there's a lock bar. It's actually locked. But the reason for that is obviously we don't want people to steal it, but you want to dispatch emergency services, because a lot of times, like if something happens in the library, everybody's panicked, right? And so they have an AED, but everybody's like, wait, why aren't the first responders here? Well, because nobody called them. So this makes you actually call Basically, first ring, they're giving you the code, you're opening it up, you're taking the AED out. If you know how to unzip your pants, you know how to unzip an AED. If you know how to press a button, you know how to start an AED. It serves as an EKG, so it's not going to shock anybody unless it actually needs to. You're going to have 911, and then you're going to put the pads on, you're going to follow voice prompts. All really, really easy. We do that kind of stuff all day long, right? And the operator on the phone, the dispatcher, they're going to tell you what to do. Right? You don't have to learn the Taylor Swift songs. You don't have to learn Baby Shark or Staying Alive. You want to practice at home. You want to take a class to get more secure. Awesome. But they're going to count for you. They're going to keep you calm. They're going to do what they do while emergency help is being dispatched. The other thing is we know that the survival rate is only 8% out of hospital. And people are like, that's crazy. Why? Well, a lot of that is because people are afraid they're going to get sued. And we know that there are Good Samaritan laws. You're not going to get sued. If you go and you help in good faith, you are not getting sued. We've talked to judges, federal, state, local, county, all these different judges, all of these different attorneys, ambulance chasers, like literal. And these cases don't even make it past the paperwork submitting them to say, hey, we want to sue somebody because of the Good Samaritan law. What we know is if you're a white male, you have a 40% chance of getting bystander CPR. If you are a woman, that goes down by 15%. If you're Black or Hispanic, that goes down by 15%. So if you're a Black or Hispanic male, good luck. Female, good luck, right? That's like a 10% chance that somebody's going to step in. And again, that's just because of miseducation and people are afraid. And also, you know, what ends up happening is if a CPR class is $65, let's say, and that's on the cheap end, right? A lot of people want to use that $65 to make sure their lights stay on or that they can feed their family. It's not a priority until something happens in your family or, you know, somebody that you love, as with everything else in this world, right? You're usually not going to be like, I need to do this. And so that's why it's so good that we're going to do these, we do these demonstrations every time we do an event, because it's so important for people to just be like, you know what, this is something that I can actually do. Emma, did I forget anything? No? Good. I usually have remarks. I don't have them. So what we'll do is, if anybody wants to go ahead and learn CPR and how to use an AED, why don't we go ahead and do that? Then we'll take some pictures, and anybody who's here who wants to see the fire truck, we have little tubes that you can make stethoscopes. We have coloring pages. My information is over there. All the information about the enclosure, which is literally on the other side of this little shed, if anybody actually wants to see it. But then we'll go and we'll take pictures and do all those things. So thank you everybody for coming.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest. Mike's not always going to be there, but the AED will always be there to help you through it. Apply pads to patient's bare chest. Plug in pads connector next to flashing light. Apply pads, plug in connector.
Plug in connector?
That's right. I even said that. It's so easy nowadays, right?
It is.
Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm.
Clear
Do
the
not
area.
touch the patient.
Call
Analyzing
911.
heart rhythm.
Call.
That's
Get
right.
them on the phone.
Shock advised.
911 is
Charging.
always your first call. And that's not
Stay
just
clear of patient. Deliver shock now.
There's one on your
Press the
side.
orange button now.
Clear and shocked.
Shock delivered.
There
It
you
is
go.
safe to touch the patient. Begin CPR.
A little faster.
That beep is your metronome, actually.
Oh, is it?
Beep, 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 beep. Yep.
Still like staying alive.
And you just learned to save a life.
All right. Excellent job.
May I help you up?
We're here at Bartell Park, and we just had a demonstration, or we just are unveiling our new AED equipment that's available for any of the youth coaches and parents that are here when they're practicing. And what you need to do is, if an emergency occurs and you need the AED, call dispatch, and they will give you the code. Captain Akabu is going to demonstrate how to open the door.
Thank you, Mayor.
Once you open that door, take the AED out and follow the instructions. Once you press the green button, it will tell you exactly how the equipment operates.